Hi, my name is Allison Lane, and I am tasked with doing a video discussion for my CYB659 class for Utica College for my professor, Kevin Smith. Today is March 30th, 2018, and I am here to talk about the different file systems that are present on Windows machines. To begin, I will discuss FAT. The FAT file system was first introduced in the days of MS-DOS back in 1981. FAT is considered the most simplistic of the file systems supported by Windows NT. The FAT file system is characterized by the file allocation table, hence the acronym FAT. FAT is really a table that resides at the very top of the volume. To protect the volume, 2 copies of the FAT are kept in case one becomes damaged. In addition, the FAT tables and the root directory must be stored in a fixed location so that the system's boot files can be located. A disk formatted with FAT is allocated in clusters whose size is determined by the size of the volume. When a file is created, an entry is created in the directory and the first cluster number containing data is established. Each cluster contains a pointer to the next cluster in the file or an end-of-file indicator, which is 0xFFFF. This indicates that the cluster is at the end of the file, and as previously stated, the entry in the FAT table will indicate that this could be the last cluster of the file, or it points to the next cluster starting a new file. The first version of FAT was known as FAT12, which supported a maximum partition size of 8 megabytes. This was superseded in 1984 by the FAT16, which increased the maximum partition size to 2 gigabytes. FAT16 principal limitation is that it imposes the fixed maximum number of clusters per partition, meaning that the bigger the hard disk, the bigger the cluster size, and the more unusable space on the drive. The biggest advantage of F16 is that it's compatible across a wide variety of operating systems, including Windows 95, 88, OS2, Linux, and some versions of Unix. Windows has supported both FAT16 and FAT32. FAT32 provides for a much larger number of clusters per partition. As such, it offers greatly improved disk utilization over FAT16 with its 2 terabytes maximum data storage. However, FAT32 shares all of the other limitations of FAT16, plus the additional one that many non-Windows operating systems that are FAT16 compatible will not work with FAT32. This makes FAT32 inappropriate for dual boot environments, although while other operating systems such as Windows NT can't directly read a FAT32 partition, they can read it across the network. It's no problem, therefore, to share information stored in a FAT32 partition with other computers on a network that are running older versions of Windows. I do need to let you know that updating the FAT table is very important, but it's very time consuming. If the FAT table is not regularly updated, it can lead to data loss. It is time consuming because the disk read heads must be repositioned to the drive's logical track 0 each time the FAT table is updated. Also, there is no organization to the FAT directory structure, and files are given the first open location on the drive. In addition, FAT supports only read-only, hidden, system, and archive file attributes. You could say that another disadvantage of FAT is that if someone wants to use a drive or a partition that's over 200 megabytes, I wouldn't recommend using the FAT system because as the size of the volume increases, performance with FAT will quickly decrease. It's not possible to set permissions on files that are FAT partitions. FAT partitions are limited to a size of maximum of 4 gigabytes under Windows NT and 2 gigabytes in MS-DOS. The next file system I'd like to talk about is NTFS, which stands for New Technology File System. With the arrival of Windows XP in October of 2001, support was extended to include the NTFS. NTFS is a completely different file system from FAT that was introduced with first version of Windows NT in 1993. NTFS is designed to address many of FAT's deficiencies, one could say. It provides for greatly increased privacy and security. The file system is inherently more resilient than FAT, being less likely to suffer damage in the event of a system crash, as being more likely that any damage is recoverable via the checkdisk.exe utility. NTFS also journalizes all file changes so as to allow the system to be rolled back to an earlier working state in the event of some catastrophic problem rendering the system inoperable. NTFS provides reliability, which is especially desirable for high-end systems and file servers, a platform for added functionality and removal of all the limitations of the FAT file systems. It also includes encryption, which is important. FAT16, FAT32, and NTFS each use different cluster sizes depending on the size of the volume, and each file system has a maximum number of clusters it can support. The smaller the cluster size, the more efficiently a disk stores information because unused space within a cluster cannot be used by other files. The more clusters supported, the larger the volumes or partitions that can be created. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.